Let me introduce you to The Silence. It stars Stanley Tucci, kind of a random person to choose as the lead role. It also stars Kiernan Shipka. She's from that new Sabrina the Teenage Witch remake show. And it also stars Miranda Otto, who played Eowyn in Lord of the Rings. And it was directed by John R. Leonetti, who's known for amazing films such as Wish-a-Bon and Annabelle and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Netflix has a pretty strange track record. Sometimes they come out with some pretty cool stuff like Ozark, Dark, Black Mirror. Right here, they have this show called My Husband Won't Fit, and it's a Japanese show about a girl who's in a relationship with a guy whose dick won't fit in her vagina. Oh, God. In The Silence, a bunch of these bat creatures are just locked away in a big rock somewhere until these archaeologists chip a hole into it and then they all come swarming out. Who knows how they were able to survive in there? I guess that doesn't really matter. And there's like a billion of them. So Kiernan Shipka's character in this movie, Allie, lost her hearing 3 years ago, so she knows how to use sign language, and obviously that works to the family's benefit. Early on in the movie, there's a scene where Allie is reading her dad's lips, and just look at her dad's lips. How could you possibly read this guy's lips? They hardly move when he's speaking.
Who is he?
Oh my God, Dad.
I'm your father. I'm supposed to know these things. Come on. Father, I'm supposed to know these things. Come on.
You guys are afraid to let me leave the house. It's stupid.
She does not come across as a very convincing deaf person. So in the beginning of the movie, everybody's using sign language to communicate with Allie, but it seems like as the movie progresses, they kind of forget that she's deaf and she has to read everyone's lips the entire time. Very strange. So the people on the news said that you shouldn't take your cars.
Do not make noise. Do not
attempt to drive.
So obviously this family immediately takes their cars. Then a police officer drives by later on.
Hey, I got this. You just watch him.
All right, okay.
And his sirens are blaring. Was he not notified how these creatures target you? You'd assume that law enforcement would be some of the first people to learn about the threat. So the family's dog is barking and this random guy gets pissed off that their dog's barking and he tells it to quiet down. So what does he do? He shoots his shotgun off in the air. Like, yeah, I'm really pissed off that your dog's making some noise. I don't want any of these bat things to come and kill me. So I'm gonna make even more noise. And miraculously nothing comes to kill them, so I guess they just got lucky. Either that or these vesps were just really far away. So as the family's driving away, their uncle gets distracted and he accidentally crashes his Jeep. And they use CGI for the Jeep crash, and it looks so awful.
My God, why am I driving like a fucking idiot?
And the uncle's screams of agony are not convincing at all.
Can you get out?
Go get my guns.
Okay. All right.
If someone is trapped in a broken down vehicle and they're asking for a gun, you probably shouldn't give it to them. They're obviously either going to commit suicide or do something really stupid with it. There's literally no reason that a gun would be helpful in his situation, especially since if he used it to defend himself, then that would just make more vesps come. Giving him a gun is not helping him at all. But the dad's like, oh sure, you want a gun? Here, take it.
Why do you want those?
I'm gonna shoot you if you don't go. That's what I'm gonna do.
You're a fucking idiot.
The family is obviously in danger right now, but they just can't help themselves. They have to whisper to each other.
They were scratching in the same places over and over.
You all know sign language, just use sign language. Or put your phones on silent and write in your phones, and show your phones to one another. In this scene, you can see the dad throw away the crowbar, which is very strange. A crowbar can be very useful. He was using it to try and pry open the door to save, you know, this turd. But then he just decides randomly to just throw it away. Oh, I get it. It needs to be there for a scene later, for when he's forced to go outside to put himself in danger. to show some bravery so he can pick it up and toss it like 20 feet. Are you telling me there wasn't a single thing in the car that he could throw that would make a sound to distract the creature? He had to get out of the car and walk over to the crowbar that was on the ground and throw it? Come on now. So then the dad says no phones and no texting when they can easily be silenced. Does this guy just not know how phones work? Phones would be much smarter than whispering, and their phone alarms would be perfect items for distraction if they're ever in a pickle. Just put your alarm on and throw your phone. They should be collecting them.
I said get the hell off my way!
So the family's trying to bypass the fence because they don't want to make any sound, so they go through a storm drain instead. But then the Vesps hear them down there, so they swarm them, and they're in this storm drain attacking them. So the dad turns on this wood chipper outside, and it makes all the Vesps just like exit the storm drain and go straight into the wood chipper. Why would these creatures abandon their current prey when it's screaming right in front of them to go chase after a different sound, even though it's much further away? It's so dumb. If anything, that would just attract Vesps that weren't in the storm drain. It wouldn't help at all. In this movie, there's these religious fanatics. Obviously, there's gotta be the religious people who are evil and think it's Armageddon and want to convert people, and they lost their minds because who knows why. It's so dumb. This reverend guy is trying to convince these random people to join his cause by writing some creepy shit down on some paper and showing it to them. Like, oh, does this work for you pretty often, bro? I'm surprised he has disciples at all. So they tried desperately to recruit the family when really they just want Allie because she's fertile. I guess they want to use her to repopulate once everyone's dead. So they go up to the house that this family's staying in, and they start acting really creepy. The dad feels threatened, so he goes outside with a shotgun and aims it at them. Obviously, he can't shoot them because there's Vesps around. If he really wanted them to leave, the best thing he could do is like throw something at them so it would make a sound. So the mom is injured from the storm drain. So the dad and Allie go out to get some antibiotics, and they just happen to stumble across a bunch of Vesps. So the dad's plan is to light a mop on fire and lift it up towards a sprinkler so the sprinkler will turn on and confuse the Vesps. It's very strange that the Vesps didn't hear the fire when it's right next to them and they didn't attack it, which is very weird. I guess they're just pretty selective. That's weird, they're attracted to this fire and this fire is out in the open when the fire right next to them is like, you know, right next to them. So these religious fanatics are so desperate to abduct Allie that they tape a bunch of phones to this girl and have her walk up to their house and knock on the door. So the family lets her in, and then they find all these phones taped to her. It almost looks like a bomb vest. Then simultaneously, all these phones start blaring their alarms. And then these people start throwing more phones through the windows. And they even taped phones to their windows. In doing so, they're hoping that the Vesps will go into their home and start attacking them. But based on what we've seen earlier in the movie, these Vesps would just attack the phones. They wouldn't attack the people in the homes because they're really stupid. So this just wouldn't work. If anything, they're sacrificing the girl they sent in there because the phones are attached to her. So the Vesp would go in and kill her. So if it weren't for the family removing the phones from this girl, the Vesp would just end up killing her and not killing the family. So it's like the dumbest plan ever.
You're a dumbass.
And even if this did work, it's so dumb because they would just end up killing Allie. Wasn't the plan to abduct Allie? And a bunch of these religious people go into the house to try and abduct her after the phones have been thrown in. It's so weird. It's like partially a suicide mission. It's so dumb. And if this reverend guy cares so much about abducting Allie because she's fertile, then why is he sacrificing this young girl when he has all these other disciples who are much older, and some of them are men? So much for caring about fertile women. Then there's a scene where they're all outside fighting each other, but there's a thunderstorm going on in the background. So I guess the sound of the thunder masks them so they could beat the shit out of each other and stuff without the Vesps noticing at all. It's very convenient for them because I've never ever in my life have witnessed a thunderstorm like this where literally every second there's the sound of thunder. Normally there's at least a couple seconds between each lightning strike. The lightning in this scene is ridiculous. It looks like a strobe light, and you could argue that the rain is also masking their noise, but rain makes sound based on what it's hitting, and they're fighting on a front lawn, so the rain isn't going to be that loud. I don't know, maybe everyone's just trying to be extra quiet because they know the Vesps are there. I just find this scene very unbelievable because I'm pretty sure the sound of people killing each other would overpower rain. And if you're being stabbed, it doesn't matter if you're thinking about the Vesps, you're going to make a noise. So then the movie ends with them adapting to these creatures, and they shot an arrow through one of them. Super cool. Stanley Tucci didn't do a very good job in this movie. I don't think his acting style is very well suited for these intense horror type of movies. Overall, this movie is completely unoriginal. The performances are awful, and I can't believe I actually watched it. This is definitely a movie that you should never see ever. All right, well, that will do it. Thank you so much for watching. If there's any other movies that you would like me to talk about, please leave them in the comments section down below, and maybe I'll check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! This video is sponsored by myself. If you like interesting clothing, go to alienclothing.com, and there's a bunch of weird stuff over there that you might like. And again, thank all of you so much for your support.